I'm Young and stop by. This is the introduction to a video series. We're going to be talking about lots of different things. We're going to be talking about philosophy, health, both physical health and mental health, and different ways to maintain your well-being. We're also going to discuss some of the elements in my book that I recently wrote, Emotional Mechanics, among other things. So this is the front and back cover of the book that I mentioned, Emotional Mechanics, Stopping Pi. Just putting a little plug in here for the book, but that's not the main purpose of this series. The book basically highlights using sort of a rational analysis and analogies and different ways of mentalizing your emotions and their relationships, and in a quasi-mathematical way that is basically used to tackle your demons, one at a time until you get a sense of peace. And it's an iterative process, really, because I find that once I obtain some peace of mind, that life just grows on me, and eventually I develop anxiety and stress and some of the emotions that I just vanquished by virtue of the techniques in the book. So it's really just a introductory, methodology of, feeling better in your head. So I'm just going to start out about some generalizations about the world, and one of the reasons why health is so important is because it serves as a buffer against this circus of a world that we live in. I grew up in the 90s, and that was 20, 30 years ago, and I feel like it was 200 years ago because things are so different. And when the things became different, people became different. Simple things, the art of the conversation, just talking to somebody. I mean, it's ironic, even now I'm talking to you through a video medium, whereas if this was 30 years ago, we'd be friends, we'd be sitting around a campfire, and we'd just be talking, and we'd be content with that. We would be entertained. We wouldn't need, screens or distractions or something to bother us. It's almost as if we like to be distracted because it makes us feel important, and most of the times the distractions, aren't important at all. People have even unhealthier lifestyles. The jobs that most people have are sedentary. The diets are poor. Most food is basically, coated in sugar, and if it's not laden with sugar, it's processed. So there's not too many whole foods left there. When people go to the grocery store, they spend the least amount of money in the produce section, and fruits and vegetables are what you need. Most people don't exercise. 1 out of every 7 people has a mental illness. 95% of people will experience some kind of debilitating back pain once in their life, and so on and so forth. One of the alarming things that I noticed about this whole health stuff is, like I said, when I was younger, I remember people didn't really seem to have health problems until they were maybe in their 60s or 70s, and they would normally become afflicted with cancer, which would eventually lead to their demise. Nowadays, I'm starting to see people having serious medical conditions when they're 30, 40, 50, and it seems like a lot of people are passing away in their 50s as opposed to their 60s and 70s. I think a big part of this is a lack of nutrition, a poor diet. And even if you do eat as healthy as possible, the soil is depleted of nutrients, and you have a lot of GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and hybrids and stuff like that, and the food doesn't have as much nutrition as it used to, as it should. So I think 40, 50 years ago, there was a lot of home cooked meals and a lot of whole foods. People had gardens and stuff like that, and people were naturally more healthy. And a lot of these people that I've observed had very unhealthy lifestyles. They would smoke a pack of cigarettes every day. They would drink every day. They wouldn't exercise. They'd smoke cigars and stuff. But for the most part, they'd be okay. But that's the physical health aspects. The mental health aspects and the lack of people being able to connect, I think, is the biggest problem of today. I don't know how many people, a lot of people have therapists. Now, I'm not knocking therapy. It can be therapeutic, but when people are going to a therapist for 10 years straight, that therapist isn't doing their job. They should be fired. You should go to therapy for, as long as it takes you to, get through your issues. Therapy wasn't as popular, 30, 40 years ago, because if you had a problem, you'd speak to a family member or a friend, and you would have the colloquial abilities to do so, and that person would be willing to listen to you and to process your problems and to give you, an opinion about it. And that's how therapy would occur. Where I grew up, especially for men, because they have a hard time opening up emotionally, that process would normally happen over, some kind of drunken escapade in, man cave, basement, garage, outside, camping, what have you. And I don't think people really get together as much and do that sort of thing. And, well, where I grew up, drinking was rampant, and in the rest of the country, it really isn't. So, anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. These are just my initial thoughts. We have some good stuff, coming up for the channel, and I hope you stay tuned. Thanks.